Welcome back to Math Maintenance. Today we are talking about telling time. So on a clock, our numbers go from a 12 at the top, and then they start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they end at 12 again. In order to go through one complete hour, the long hand of the clock goes all the way around one time, while the short hand of the clock just moves from one number to the next. So if it was 1 o'clock, here's my shorthand. The shorthand's going to start at 1 o'clock, and the long hand's going to start at 12. Throughout the hour, the long hand is going to make one complete loop around the clock, and the shorthand is simply going to move from 1 to 2. So the shorthand is always moving just a short distance. As our long hand goes around, that shorthand does move a little bit. And so when we look at our times, it's important to note that if the shorthand is somewhere between 1 and 2, the start number on the clock is still 1 o'clock. It's not to the 2 yet, so it doesn't count. So this might be a time like 1:30. Now you might be saying, Mrs. Iwansky, the long hand is pointing at a 6, not at a 30. How did you get 30? Well, this is where our skip counting by fives is going to come in really handy. When we tell times on a clock, we skip count by fives going around. So we start 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the 6 on the clock actually means that 30 minutes has gone by. We can see that the 1 is about halfway between the 1 and the 2 because we're halfway around the circle for it to be 1:30. Let's try another time. If the long hand is at the 9 and the short hand is between the 3 and the 4, we can start with the hours and say, okay, well, it's not all the way to the 4 yet, so the hours must be 3. And then we have to count the minutes. In order to count the minutes, we're going to skip count by fives going around the circle. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. When the little hand is between the 3 and the 4, and the big hand is at the 9, the time is 3:45. Let's try one more going that way. So if the big hand is at the 11 and the little hand, it doesn't look very little, the little hand is almost to the 9, because remember that big hand is going all the way around, it's almost back to where it started. Even though it's almost to the 9, it's not quite there yet. So our starting hours are 8. And then we skip count by fives for the minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55 minutes. The time when the little hand's between the 8 and the 9 and the big hand's at the 11 is 8:55. If we're trying to go the other way, and you know a time, and then you're trying to draw the clock, so I can pick out a time that's 6:20. The first number is going to tell me where the little hand is. Remember, the only time the little hand is exactly at that first number is if it's 6:00, 6 o'clock on the dot. As soon as that big hand starts moving around the clock, the little hand starts moving around the clock as well. So 6:20, it's not going to point directly at 6. It'll be a little bit past the 6. And then for 20 minutes, we need to do our skip counting. 5, 10, 15, 20. The big hand would be pointing to the 4. What if instead of 6:20, we wanted to see what 3:15 looks like. Well, 3 is right here, but it's a little past 3, so we need to put the little hand a little past 3 o'clock. 15 minutes, we could skip count, 5, 10, 15. The big hand would be pointing at the 3. Today in your packet, you get to practice both ways. The first page tells you or shows you the clock, and you fill in what time it is, like we did with the first set of practice problems. The second page tells you a time, and you need to fill in the clock. So I would start with the first number and put that little hand in there, and the second number will tell you where the big hand should go. Your digital practice today is a Google Slide activity where you have 6 different clocks and 6 times down the side, and you will drag the times to match them up with the correct clock. Your manipulative activity is to continue doing those addition and those subtraction flashcards. It is so important that your addition and subtraction skills are really, really sharp so that moving forward, other types of math that you try to do that include addition and subtraction are easier for you. Good luck with your math maintenance.